This is a brutal event held annually, testing the physical strength and willpower of young people, causing the entire nation to hold its breath as they watch through their screens. Raymond will represent his state in this ruthless challenge, where every step could be the last. Their walking is not a choice but the only way to survive. The final command sounded like a sentence. He had to be at the starting line at exactly 8 a.m. Raymond was taken to the starting point by his mother. The radio was broadcasting news about the civil war that had split America into two countries, and ever since, the nation had fallen into the hands of a brutal dictatorship. Raymond's mother could not hide her discomfort and immediately turned off the radio. Her face clearly showed fear and resistance. Her husband had died many years earlier while participating in the same competition. With a choked voice, she tried to persuade Raymond to give up.
I still don't understand. I think you could probably still change your mind. I don't think it's...
The backup date was yesterday. This is my decision, okay? Not yours. This is the best way. It's the only way.
Your father was here.
Okay, but he's not.
At the gathering point, Raymond picked up his luggage and hugged his mother in a deeply emotional goodbye. But she held him tightly once more, unable to accept the cruel reality that was about to happen.
No, wait!
Mom, I can't. I know. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Mom, it's just a few days. I'll see you in a few days. I gotta let you go, okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right, Mom.
Okay.
Okay, I love you, Mom.
At that moment, another contestant named Peter appeared. Raymond and Peter greeted each other warmly. While their luggage was being strictly inspected by soldiers, they quickly blended into the group of contestants known as the Walkers. Gradually, the others also arrived one by one. The quiet and discreet Stebbins. Curly, one of the youngest, looking extremely tense.
Okay, Curly. How old are you?
18? Yeah, that kid lied to qualify. Kid, if you're a day over 16, I eat my fucking shoes. Look at him. Poor fucker doesn't know what the fuck he's doing here.
Hank, obsessed with the image of authority, believing that showing aggression was a survival strategy. And the strange, withdrawn Barkovitch. All of them were only part of the total 50 contestants who would have to face the most brutal challenge the nation had ever witnessed. Not long after, the commander appeared. He was the one in charge, holding absolute authority over the event.
Now, as I call your name, step forward and take your tags. Put them around your neck, and then go back to your place until I instruct otherwise. Ewing, James, number 1. Smith, Patrick, number 4. Barkovitch, Gary, number 5.
While the others had to stand still without moving. Raymond was assigned number 47.
Boys, it takes heavy sack to sign up for this contest. You've all got it. You're men now. As you all know, our country has been in a period of financial struggle since the war. And we did the first long walk all those years ago to inspire and reintegrate the value of work ethic. Each year after the event, there's a spike in production. We have the means to return to our former glory. Our problem now is an epidemic of laziness. You boys are the answer. The long walk is the answer. When this is broadcast for all the states, your inspiration will continue to elevate our gross national product. We will be number 1 in the world again! Yeah!
He then announced the competition rules. Everyone had to walk continuously until only one person remained alive. If their speed dropped below 5 kilometers per hour, they would receive a warning. If they failed to regain speed within 10 seconds, they would receive a second warning. Upon the third warning, they would be executed immediately without any mercy. The last person alive would receive a great reward, an enormous sum of money and any wish granted without limitation. As soon as the speech ended, the commander fired his gun into the air, officially starting the competition. The walkers set off under the strict supervision of the military, whose sole duty was to enforce the rules that had been established. Raymond's heart pounded with tension. He immediately looked at the newly issued speed tracker, checking it anxiously. Along the way, they witnessed a desolate scene. Animal carcasses scattered along the roadside, other animals tied up with nowhere to go, and abandoned vehicles standing as silent remnants of a collapsed nation. Raymond sternly commented that the scenery was truly bleak. Barkovitch coldly replied that the commander only allowed spectators at the finish line. This made the sense of isolation within the competition even stronger. Hank interrupted the two with a strange piece of advice. They should smile for the cameras because every step they took was being broadcast live. When they had walked 8 kilometers, the group of contestants crossed a vast wheat field. Raymond immediately recognized the person who appeared. It was the contestant considered the best in the entire country. This indicated that he was the strongest representative of his state. However, while everyone was still observing closely, Stebbins began to slow down and quickly received his first warning. Hank believed this might be a tactic to reduce pace early in the race to test the body's true limits. Parker disagreed, saying it was an unnecessary risk. To Hank, the only valid strategy was to give everything from the very beginning. Raymond, curious, tried to start a conversation with Stebbins, but only received a cold reply, clearly showing that the other man did not want any companionship. When the group crossed a bridge, Barkovitch stopped briefly to tie his shoelaces. The speed tracker immediately detected it, and he received his first warning. 10 seconds passed, and the second warning followed. The others kept walking, but all eyes were fixed on Barkovitch, waiting for the outcome. Just as he was about to receive the third warning and a soldier already had his gun aimed, Barkovitch managed to finish tying his shoe in time and returned to a steady pace. The tense moment made everyone breathe a sigh of relief. Realizing the danger, Barkovitch immediately sped up, knowing he could not afford another mistake if he wanted to survive. At the 11-kilometer mark, Raymond, Parker, and Peter talked about the final prize. Parker confessed that his motivation was entirely money. Meanwhile, Raymond insisted that money was not what he desired most. He even mentioned a verse from the Bible.
Rich men don't enter the kingdom of heaven. Oh, wow.
Though he quickly added that he was not religious. To him, neither the journey nor the prize mattered. He believed that none of them volunteered to participate. They were all forced into it because they had no other choice. Raymond and Apos' confession irritated Stebbins, who ordered them to be quiet and focus on walking. Peter agreed but still defended his view that money was important. Then Peter took out a cigarette and offered one to Raymond, but Raymond firmly refused. Parker, in contrast, accepted immediately. Suddenly, another walker named Harkness joined the conversation. He was a writer and walked while taking notes of the names and numbers of the other contestants, aiming to turn them into a book. For Harkness, the book was his path to wealth.
Oh, if you win, you won't need a book to make you rich.
During the journey, Raymond noticed a solitary house by the roadside, where a woman stood at the door watching the group with a cold and unreadable gaze. At that moment, Curly suddenly suffered a leg cramp, forcing him to slow down and receive his first warning. Seeing Curly stumble, Raymond and Peter quickly turned back to help.
Okay. Keep it slow, just fast enough and steady, okay? All right? Come on, put your weight on. Put your weight on.
That is what? Fucking around, keep it moving.
You're gonna keep walking, listen to me, okay? Keep walking, you're with us, you're with us.
Come on, keep walking. Keep walking, that's right. That's right. We out here in the sunshine, just having fun.
You're gonna be all right, okay?
She's loosening now.
Okay, good, okay, good. All right, see this? You gotta promise me that you're gonna keep walking. You promise?
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
All right, you okay, right?
All right, yeah.
Just keep walking.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Just keep
You
walking.
got it. Come on, young.
Keep walking.
You got it.
We just gotta stay at this
We
pace.
good. Come on,
we just gotta stay at this pace.
You got it.
Come on, Curly. Come on, Curly. It's just you and me. Come on. Come on, Curly.
Eyes up.
But the pain was too intense, leaving Curly completely exhausted. Unable to stay on his feet, he collapsed and gave up.
Number 7, third warning.
Get up, kid!
Get up, youngin. Get up.
Oh, but it ain't fair! It ain't fucking fair!
His final words were uttered in despair. It's not fair at all. Thus, Curly became the first victim of the competition. His quick and ruthless death plunged the entire group into shock and horror. They were forced to confront the harsh reality. This competition was truly a game of life and death. The shock was so overwhelming that many, including Raymond, unconsciously slowed down and were immediately warned. Not long after, the commander broke the atmosphere with a brief speech, commemorating Curly with cold words in the form of an empty, emotionless eulogy.
One of our comrades has fallen. Let's remember him fondly and celebrate his bravery. There will be many more, but none quite as glory-filled as the very first. And the very last. Today, we walk for Curly. Let's hear it, boys. For Curly! Goddamn right.
The contestants had no choice but to keep walking, pretending as if nothing had happened. Under the scorching sun and increasing exhaustion, Raymond asked a soldier escorting them for water. When they reached the 27-kilometer mark, Peter asked Raymond if he was tired. Raymond admitted that he had been tired for a long time. Peter then advised him not to think about the finish line, but to focus on the steps right in front of him, because that was the only way to keep surviving. Intrigued by that philosophy, Raymond asked Peter where he had heard it. Peter replied that it was a lesson from his late father. Raymond immediately acknowledged that the man must have been very wise. With a tired smile, Peter affirmed that if they walked together, they would be able to reach the end. It was conversation and companionship that would help them keep up their spirits. Raymond curiously asked whether Peter was a poet. Peter laughed and answered that he had actually been a singer, but his career failed, and that was why he ended up having to take part in this deadly competition. Not long after, another contestant named Pearson joined the conversation. He joked with Raymond that he already had a fan, pointing to a girl about 14 years old standing by the roadside, watching Raymond with admiration. The whole group burst into laughter and began teasing Raymond, but Peter quickly stepped in to defend him. Although Raymond had never intended to make friends in this competition, he gradually formed an unexpected bond with Peter. Arthur and Hank started to see themselves as musketeers on this life-or-death journey. However, that harmony did not last long. Barkovitch suddenly barged in, insulting them and calling them idiots. Arthur lashed back fiercely, while Hank started to feel numbness in his legs. A clear sign that exhaustion was silently creeping in on everyone. Even so, Hank's pain was nothing compared to the contestant wearing number 1. He suddenly fell to the ground, convulsing violently in the middle of the road, and a few minutes later was executed, becoming the second person eliminated.
Why won't they just fucking end it?
Barkovitch immediately mocked the death, coldly stating that everyone should be happy whenever someone fell, because that meant the remaining contestants' chances of survival increased. No one agreed with his provocation. They all looked at him with disdain, but no one said a word. As for Raymond and Peter, in silence, they still tried to hold onto the hope that with each elimination, the journey would become slightly less brutal. When they reached the 40-kilometer mark, Peter asked how much longer they could keep going. Parker calmly replied that he still had strength left. By then, the whole group had been walking nonstop for 3 hours. Their conversation suddenly shifted to the topic of food, talking about meat, about France, and about frog dishes. Suddenly, Hank had a cramp and was forced to slow down. The whole group hurried to support him and help him regain his pace. Not long after, Hank dropped his portion of food. Since he could not stop to pick it up without receiving a warning, Raymond voluntarily shared his own food, strengthening the bond that was gradually forming between them. Meanwhile, Barkovitch provoked another contestant named Rank. Rank couldn't control himself, fell into the trap, and lunged at Barkovitch. In his anger, he didn't realize that each punch counted as a warning. By the third strike, the soldiers carried out their orders without hesitation and shot him on the spot. The group was furious, believing Barkovitch had deliberately pushed Rank to his death, and some even voiced threats at him. Yet Barkovitch seemed unaffected. He smiled defiantly, as if every tragedy was just part of a game he was enjoying. Continuing their journey, the contestants walked past a crow impaled on a stake in the middle of the road, a horrifying sight that shocked everyone. After that, Harkness approached to ask for some food, but Raymond and Peter both shook their heads, saying they had nothing left. The writer's anxiety became obvious as he admitted he didn't want to write about the deaths or horrors he witnessed, fearing it would lower the commercial value of his future book. In the middle of the conversation, Harkness mentioned contestant number 45, Ronald, who was gradually breaking down. An uncontrollable urge to relieve himself forced Ronald to stop. He received all 3 warnings and was executed the moment he could no longer continue walking. The soldiers shot him without any mercy, even as he was still soiling himself. Right then, Stebbins appeared with a dry attitude, demanding the group increase their pace. Raymond, already in despair, snapped back and told him to shut up. When they reached the 56-kilometer mark, the commander appeared, congratulating the remaining contestants for having come this far.
Where else in the world would you have an opportunity like this? Nowhere is the answer. Win that prize. Your first night is almost upon you. For some of you, it will be the last. But remember, with determination, pride, and ambition, you will see the dawn.
It was already dark, and exhaustion was clearly visible on everyone's faces. Peter asked Raymond if he was okay, then pulled out some food to share. At the same time, Raymond began to think of his mother, the songs she used to sing, and the warmth of his childhood home. Suddenly, Peter shook his shoulder. Raymond had been walking in his sleep for hours without realizing it. He had even dreamed of sleeping while still on this deadly journey. Peter told Raymond to talk more about his mother so he wouldn't fall asleep again. His words made those around them laugh, but Raymond admitted he didn't expect to miss his mother that much. Peter tried to encourage him, saying that soon Raymond would see her again. The conversation continued. Peter asked Raymond if he had a lover. Raymond said he had broken up with his girlfriend before the competition began. Raymond asked back, and Peter also said he was single. While they were talking, Raymond unconsciously slowed down and received his second warning. He stumbled again and immediately received the third warning. In panic, Raymond shouted that everyone only pretended to care about others, but in reality they were just hoping someone else would fall so their own chance of survival would increase. Those harsh, painful words left the entire group silent. Soon after, they faced an incredibly steep hill. Climbing it became a true nightmare. Those who had no strength left fell one by one and were eliminated. Raymond tried to stay focused and put all his remaining energy into moving forward. Just as he was about to collapse, Peter reached out to catch him, helping Raymond regain his breath and continue upward. With a broken voice, Raymond apologized for what he had said earlier. He asked about the condition of the others, and Peter reassured him that they were fine. At dawn on the second day, the group had walked 94 kilometers. Of the original 53 participants, only 18 were still standing. Exhausted, Raymond begged Peter to keep talking because he felt his legs weakening. He asked Peter what his true reason was for wanting to win. Raymond admitted that besides wanting to survive, he carried another reason with him, even though he knew he didn't have much hope. In contrast, Peter said he didn't necessarily have to win. At some point, when he couldn't endure anymore, he would simply sit down and accept the end. When they reached the 107-kilometer mark, Hank began showing signs of losing control. At the same time, Harkness twisted his ankle and was executed immediately.
Third warning, 49. Final warning.
Get out of here, Mike! I'm gonna go home.
Peter and Raymond mourned his death, while Barkovitch remained indifferent, still wearing the same ruthless expression. After a heated argument with Peter, Barkovitch swore he would do whatever it took to destroy him. At the 160-kilometer mark, the commander appeared again, encouraging the remaining contestants to push toward the finish line, where he promised a great reward awaited. Stebbins sneezed, and when someone asked if he was sick, he only replied that he had spring allergies. Right after that, a contestant suddenly broke formation and tried to escape. Immediately, soldiers opened fire and killed him in an instant. Later on, the group that called themselves the Musketeers discussed what they would wish for if they won. Parker dreamed of having a spaceship to go to the moon. Hank, in a vulgar tone, said he only wanted 10 naked girls. Peter then revealed that he had changed his mind. His new wish was for the competition to grant the prize to 2 people instead of just 1. Raymond was surprised by such kindness. When Raymond tried to switch to another topic, Parker asked what he would wish for if he won. Raymond honestly replied that he just wanted to be able to change everything, to fix everything. Arthur warned him not to say such things too loudly because they could bring trouble. Raymond remained firm and insisted he would speak his mind, because if he didn't win, he would die anyway. His words stirred the other walkers. They began openly expressing their dissatisfaction with the commander and this deadly journey. That night, a violent downpour fell on the road. Raymond rested his head on Peter's shoulder to catch a few minutes of sleep, while Peter continued walking as if fatigue could not reach him. On the third day, they had walked 231 kilometers. Parker separated from the group for a moment to relieve himself. Luckily, he returned just in time and avoided the final warning. He resumed walking beside Peter and Raymond, trying to start a conversation again, but the smell from him made them think he should move a few meters away to let it dissipate. Parker reluctantly agreed and distanced himself with a resigned expression. When only the two of them remained, Raymond revealed to Peter the real reason he had to win. His father had taught him knowledge that was forbidden by the government. One night, soldiers stormed their house, arrested him, and handed him over to the commander. After berating him for spreading rebellious ideas, the commander gave him two choices: absolute loyalty to the state or death. His father, unwavering in his beliefs, refused and was executed right in front of the entire family. From that moment, Raymond understood his fate was sealed. He had to win. He had to avenge his father and show the commander that he would never be forgotten. With hatred filling his voice, Raymond confessed that he despised the man down to his bones, and if he won, his wish would be for a gun to kill the commander himself. Peter tried to persuade Raymond to reconsider. He said taking someone's life was not as simple as Raymond imagined, but the boy remained unmoved. Finally, Peter warned that a wish motivated solely by revenge would never hold real meaning, because revenge is never enough. At the 273-kilometer mark, madness began to break out among the walkers. One man, having lost control, attacked a soldier and was crushed by a tank immediately afterward. Another, in a delirious state, stripped off all his clothes and walked in the opposite direction, sealing his own fate. The soldiers did not hesitate and shot him on the spot. Not long after, Hank completely lost his mind. That night, after the group had reached 323 kilometers, Stebbins started a conversation with Raymond. With a mocking tone, he asked if Raymond was tired, making Raymond think it was just a joke. Stebbins pointed toward Hank, saying that he could no longer walk steadily and hadn't even eaten a single carrot. Worried, Raymond approached Hank to talk to him, but Hank was no longer conscious. He turned around and attacked a soldier. The soldier's reaction was immediate. He shot Hank in the leg and left him to bleed to death as a warning. Parker ran over to try to help, but Raymond held him back, not allowing him to risk his life. On the fourth day, they reached 336 kilometers. Of the original 53 contestants, only 6 remained: Raymond, Peter, Barkovitch, Stebbins, Parker, and Arthur. Arthur revealed that Hank had once been married, and was the only one among them who had a wife. The group was moved and promised that the winner would share the prize with Hank's wife. Peter went to check on Stebbins. Stebbins admitted, almost in despair, that he was sick. He said his body had betrayed him, because he had not been ill even once in over 10 years. Meanwhile, Barkovitch was tormented by guilt over causing Hank's death and felt isolated, begging Raymond to let him join their group. He confessed that every time he closed his eyes, he saw Hank's corpse haunting him like a ghost. Touched, Raymond eventually agreed to accept him, but guilt had already eaten into Barkovitch from within. The remaining contestants tried to comfort him, saying they had forgiven him. But just when it seemed he might finally breathe easier, Barkovitch suddenly turned around, took out a spoon and stabbed himself, ending his own life. No! The soldiers moved in to confirm his death. After they had covered 418 kilometers, only 5 remained. That night, Parker began to sing to lift their spirits, and one by one, the others joined in, creating a rare moment of humanity in this brutal journey. Dawn broke as they reached 447 kilometers. Parker asked Raymond if they were near the place where his mother lived. Raymond said yes, and Parker replied that this alone was a blessing. But Peter sighed and said that for Raymond, it would be far more painful. As they entered a city, Raymond's shoes tore apart, the soles coming off, forcing him to continue walking barefoot. Every step was painful. Suddenly, Raymond saw his mother among the crowd. He burst into tears, overwhelmed with emotion, and rushed toward her to embrace her. But Peter caught him just before he crossed the boundary, saving him from being executed on the spot. That moment broke everyone's hearts. In Raymond's heart, the flame of hatred toward the government burned even stronger. To give Raymond strength, Peter told him that he had been walking his whole life, not literally, but surviving countless hardships from a young age. He recalled how his parents had died in the war when he was just a child, and the greatest pain was that he no longer had any memory of them. Finally, he revealed the origin of his scar. He had crossed the wrong people, been attacked with a knife, and had to be hospitalized. When he woke up, he made a vow to himself. He would always choose light instead of darkness. Peter affirmed that he had nothing left to lose, but everything to gain. He dreamed of using the prize money to help children like him. Children who had lost everything before they even had the chance to grow up. He told Raymond that if he became the winner, he must return home and embrace his mother. On the 5th day, after they had walked 492 kilometers, Stebbins fell seriously ill and begged the others not to help each other anymore, because doing so only prolonged the suffering. At that moment, Parker began to have a nosebleed, but no one dared to reach out to help him. Everyone respected the newly formed unspoken rule. Overwhelmed by rage, Parker lost control, shot a soldier, and then immediately killed himself, collapsing tragically before everyone's eyes. That night, after the group had reached 521 kilometers, Parker's condition became beyond saving. Breaking the rule, Raymond and Peter tried to hold him up, but Parker could no longer continue. With a choked voice, he begged to let go, giving them a small cross to deliver to his grandmother. Then, with one final act of courage, he let go, turned around, and walked in the opposite direction. Immediately, the soldiers opened fire, ending his life in peace. When they reached the 524-kilometer mark, the commander appeared and declared that there could only be one winner. Raymond, exhausted and enraged, cursed him thousands of times, but he only smiled and said that this hatred was exactly the spirit he was looking for. A killer instinct. Peter raised a question. What would happen if all three of them stopped at the same time? Stebbins, with empty eyes, said that it was impossible. Raymond skeptically asked how Stebbins could know that so clearly. With a faint voice, Stebbins confessed that the commander was his father, and he had joined this march hoping he could wish for his father's acknowledgement. Knowing he could not live much longer, Stebbins stopped walking, accepted death, and was executed. Now only two remained, Raymond and Peter. In the heavy rain, Peter told Raymond that during his childhood he had barely thought about death until he was confronted with it. That moment revealed the harshest truth. The only certain thing in life is death, and if fortunate enough, a person may get to choose how they spend their final moments. After they had walked 532 kilometers, they reached a town where the crowd cheered to greet them. Suddenly, Peter sat down as if ready to give up. Raymond desperately urged him to continue, not realizing that he himself had slowed down. At that moment, the commander appeared and, without hesitation, executed Raymond on the spot.
Up to you, Mr. Garraty. May God reward your bravery.
I'm sorry, Mom.
Standing before Raymond's body, the commander asked Peter what his wish was. With a steady voice, Peter requested a guard's gun and said he would give it to his future children. The commander was pleased and agreed, but as soon as the gun touched Peter's hand, he immediately pointed it at the commander. The commander attempted to persuade Peter to put the gun down, but Peter looked straight into his eyes and said,
This is for Ray.
As the commander's body fell to the ground, Peter turned and walked down the empty road, slowly fading into the horizon. The film ends there,